He's a master hypnotist. He runs a company called Upgrade that helps people change the way they think about every aspect of their life.
How we created Upgrade. Historically, it's about transformation. Most humans don't know that they're literally in survival mode. If there's one thing in this world that I would invest all my money into, it would be to understand the relationship between my mind and our reality.
Each financial decision is not in a silo by itself. It has to be looked at and how it relates to something else in your plan. And most people are not looking at the big picture. I'm here today with probably one of the most fascinating human beings that I've met in my 35-year career of doing wealth management. He's a master hypnotist. He runs a company called Upgrade that helps people change the way they think about every aspect of their life, heavily taking the NLP concept to the next level like I've never seen it applied. I have William Lam with me. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here with you.
It's really good to be here with you. What did I miss in that intro?
Oh, man. Everything. I'm just kidding. No, that was a great intro. Thank you. I think that without NLP, we wouldn't have set the foundation. And many of the listeners and viewers may already be very familiar with NLP. But
for those that are not.
Yeah, for those that are not, it's a way to program the mind using language. And there's a lot more to it, but what people usually will find on the internet and or from trainings is at best a small surface level of what it could be or what it used to be. And even when you dive really deep, and I spent over 7 years really diving in full time, and then actually more than 7 years now, over 8 years actually. And what I found is the available information is really good, but based on where technology and where humans are going, there needs to be some changes and upgrade to that content. Yeah. And so I have huge respect for, NLP, frankly, and the people who created them. The people that pass the message along to the population, unfortunately nowadays, don't pass everything along, right? And frankly, the easiest way to put it, we put about 90 to 95% more content on top of NLP to build Upgrade. So NLP is it's a good part, but it's a small part of what we do.
I think that correlation is very much like we experience in the financial services arena. There's fabulous tools, there's fabulous strategies, but you get these watered down things like, if you just do this one thing, like put all your money in this one bucket or basket or whatever it is, it's going to save your entire life. And we know that is the furthest thing from the truth. So the client misses the integration of all the different concepts and how they come together in a unique way to reduce taxes and reduce risk and create more income and create more spendable income and more protection. And I think my experience is, I had an early exposure to it that my father actually went to some training back in the early 90s and had a bad outcome for whatever reason. And therefore my cluster of beliefs said, that's not good. But then you got all these versions that came out of it where people were teaching financial advisors different aspects of communication. Like one of the things that a guy did a whole career on, it's called, he would basically say, what's important about money to you in that same inflection. And you get clients to do it. If we were sitting here 3 years from today, looking back over the past 3 years, what has to have happened, both personally and professionally? And you get one small aspect of that, but what does it really do for you? And I think that when I first did the challenge, I'm going to tell you my experience, all right, for a second, because I think the listeners should understand this. I jumped into a program called Superhuman. And I wanted to 35 years of, not being happy with my body, not being happy, working my ass off, intermittent starving, doing everything. And I get targeted market and I buy this thing. And it enters my life at a point where I'm at one of the best successful time periods of my life, but I'm feeling like mediocre. I'm feeling like shit. And I'm not worthy of my success and all this stuff, right? And I'm unwinding stuff, and I see this happening. So I jump into this superhuman program, and I'm going to follow this thing. And I was selling one of my prized, I bought this boat that was like the dream of my life, and then I ended up hating it for so many reasons, which we can delve into, okay? And I literally start this mid-March last year, 23, and I'm flying to Florida to sell the boat, and then a group of buddies, we're going to go to the boat show, we're going to go fishing, we're going to go to the boat show, and then I'm unloading all my crap out of the boat, and I put it in this big Wagoneer, and after the boat show is over on Sunday, I'm going to get in the car and drive 25 hours up to New Jersey with all my crap. And nobody wants to come with me, and I'm like, good, I want to listen to this guy's podcast, John. And I just I leave Palm Beach, it's I don't know, 5:30 after being out till 2:30, and I drive. And episode, I go back. I keep going backwards in the podcast, and he keeps talking about this coach that he hired. And the coach, I'm like, who's this coach? And then finally there was a podcast with you on it, which then drove me into God Mode, which is now rebranded as...
It's Upgrade.
It's Upgrade Life, right?
It's just called Upgrade.
Okay, Upgrade, yeah. UPGRD. And I had 25 hours over a day, and a half in the car. And at that point, I was like, I've heard things from you and him that I've heard couple hundred times, but I never connected all those dots. And it was literally, I look at it as you have great information, but you don't know how to apply it. And that's what I see. People have great information. The internet is this fabulous, I know about NLP. I know about, self-help. You read all these wonderful books, but you have no way to apply it. And what I thought when I jumped in and I did that focus challenge, I'm like, oh, this is actually an application. And a lot of the clusters and the beliefs that I had basically with really bad programming, you have this one way of explaining something that I think is the most unique way. And then I want to expand on this is you have your phone, and everybody has a phone of some sort. And every couple of weeks, you get an upgrade, right? And you get a new iOS operating system. They change a small piece of code to make something better. And there's codes that are in everybody's brains that are actually creating the limitations and the belief systems that are exactly getting the opposite of what they want. And you talk about this, and then I'm going to let you go because your comments are a hell of a lot more intent here. When you ask somebody what do they want, and I ask this all the time in their wealth management plan, and it's, I don't want this. I don't want to run out of money. I don't want to pay taxes. I don't want to live to 100 years old and it's all these limiting beliefs based upon bad stories that were playing out in their mind. And here I am, a year later saying, can we take you to the next level? Can we design not just the present moment, but can we design and orchestrate a financial future that is what you want as opposed to what you don't want? That's my journey. That's how I got here. I showed up as a glazed donut, is the way I like to refer to it as. Just really good, but sugary. And if you
what
consume
are you now?
I'm like a protein bar or something. I don't know. Something that's going to be healthy. I hadn't thought about that. That's a really good question.
I like it. Yeah, it sounds like you had a the intended journey, where you go from here, is going to be exponential.
Right.
Because a lot of times, so how we created Upgrade, historically, UPGRD, right? That's how we spell it. Historically, it's about transformation. So really, to be completely blunt, it's the smart people that will find us and understand us and join us.
Right. And be intrigued.
And unfortunately, stupid people don't get it. They won't get it. And it's okay. They won't join us.
Yeah.
Don't mind it.
Which is what you want. You want to sift and sort.
Yep. Now, by stupid, I don't mean that they're actually not intelligent. I mean other things, which we'll explain later.
Cool.
But very intelligent people tend to find us, and they tend to join us and then follow through. And that's because in order to understand who we were, Upgrade, right, with just the transformation type training services, one has to build a container in their mind to understand our content. They have to have a new container to understand. It's like people talking to you. If they have no container in their mind, they don't know they need to save taxes. They don't know they need life insurance. They don't know they can leverage life insurance to create massive amount of wealth. In fact, they don't know it's not only a necessity, it's a must.
That's a must.
It's an act of stupidity for not getting one.
Yeah.
And people don't know that.
And
right?
these are very successful people.
Yeah.
I'm like, where you been? You're 65, you're 70. It's good for us, but where you been?
Right?
What if?
So creating the container, the faster you build a container, the more sophisticated the container, the easier it is for them to have this knowledge accepted.
Right.
It's like if I gave you the latest app on an iPhone, but try to install it onto a phone with an iOS 1
Yeah.
or BlackBerry or whatever that was running on Nokia.
Palm
Won't
Pilot,
accept
whatever.
it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't work.
Yeah. You couldn't even upload it.
Exactly. Has to have the right container. So in order for us to sell that product, most of the time it was joint venture. We would help people. They would have a crazy good experience. And then they'd be like, oh my gosh, I need everyone in the world to know. So there would be joint ventures, referrals. It's 99% of our business because they built the container for us. People trust them. They refer us. What's interesting about transformational journey is that the person does become the person who will always get the result.
Yeah.
Always, not as a claim, but like when you become the person, you inevitably make it easier to achieve your goals.
Always is a timing issue.
That's right.
It may come at a different time.
Yep. Then you have a lot of personal development industry that's like, they understand that the world wants quick fixes.
Right.
They want people to feel good right now. So they sell, hey, come to my event, you're going to feel good, or you're going to have this, you're going to have this. And it's very much a achievement oriented, which is good. Problem is people leave the personal development seminar or something and they don't know what the heck to do.
They can't apply it.
They can't.
There's no coach, there's no tools, there's no skills. It's what happens in wealth management. They can't apply the learning back to what they're trying to accomplish. And then that elastic band pulls them back into their old habits because they have no way to get there.
Yeah.
That's what you guys are really, like, I've encouraged so many people to jump in, and people are literally afraid because they're afraid they're going to lose who they were because they're so connected to who they were. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, aren't you just a better version of who you are? And like, who
you literally
were,
just gave the definition of stupidity.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Yep.
So at what point do you, because you did a lot of different things prior to, from a financial standpoint, from like a business standpoint, you had like as I remember talking to you, you had a technology company that you were doing something with.
Oh, it was just some small e-commerce company startup that I was building.
Trying to get into that. But then you find some training.
Yeah, we plateaued, and I blame it on myself because really anytime a business plateaus is the founder. It's the owner. It's never the world.
That's what I learned. It's me. I learned that about my business, and everybody looks at my business and goes, oh, I just was in San Diego for an award. I got the top award, and it was really great. But I was like,
That's nice.
it's really nice. But I'm looking at it going, there's so much more than that. I'm not, and this is what you've been helping me with. I'm not happy with it because I know there was a bigger possibility. And
You could be happy with it. And
I'm happy with it because I'm happy.
I know
right?
what you mean, yeah.
But I'm not, I feel like
Satisfied.
there
You're
was
not done.
more. There was more potential. There's more people to help. There's more people
Yeah.
to like.
You're not complacent.
Yeah, I'm not done.
Yeah.
I'm 56 years old and I'm hardly done.
You're looking younger.
I actually think that.
It's true.
My wife doesn't agree, but
Well, she might have a different perception.
she does.
Yeah. But if you ask strangers,
Yeah,
They'll tell you
I'm
the
getting a
truth.
lot of really good feedback. So I'm at this event and everybody's like, what are you doing? How the hell did you get here? Like, what the hell?
yeah.
And visually, you look better, but mentally, you feel better. And I was actually a friend of mine.
They're
bought a Ferrari, and I hope he's listening to this. And he hasn't driven it more than 300 miles,
How long has he had it?
a month and a half,
Oh.
because he's afraid of what people are going to think.
Oh.
I'm like, just get
He's
out.
not
and
safe inside of him.
He's not safe. And his father said something really powerful to him. He's like, did you steal the money? Or did you earn the money? He goes, I earned the money. He goes, then what are you freaking afraid of? Just drive that car and love it and go. I'm like, I could get in the car and drive 4 hours somewhere and then come back. It'll change the way you think about it. But like, here I am, giving him, I gave him, I have a list. I'm saying, you need to start here because your journey, you're not getting what you want in life, even though you're getting it, but you're not enjoying it.
He's also got an environment that's not supportive, apparently, sounds like.
Correct. Or afraid of what people were going to think. But his top clients have him. So if your top clients have him, why wouldn't you want to have it?
Yeah.
But this is so you find this, you do your first training, and I hear you were borrowing money to get to this training.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So it's sort of like, how do you realize that this, like, what's the change inside of you that goes, oh, this is what I now need to be doing?
In every industry, it's always best to work with, and this is going to sound funny, it's always best to work with the ideal client. But nobody spends or invests the time to sit around and wonder and design who the ideal client is. It's just like, I would love to have the ideal client, but they don't know what that is.
Right. And they're like, it's not going to come. And they don't believe that it's going to come until you build the 25 attributes of the ideal client.
Same thing with dating. People don't know what they want. They're like, I just want a
be happy.
good person. Yeah, be happy. They're good person. They're attractive. They have a good family. Like 3 things. Well, they've basically described billions of people.
Yeah.
There are actually a lot of good people that are wonderful, beautiful, and just a good person, have a good family. There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
So they didn't see. The thing is, our mind needs to have our filter set up. If anyone's ever played with AI, right? If they're listening, or even just using Google, if we go on Google and we say a house in the search term,
One of my favorite topics here.
right? You'd get unlimited results.
Unlimited.
But that's what people are doing in life. They're like, I just want this. In fact, they know what they don't want better, right? But instead, if you're like, I want a 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom condo, right? Ocean view in San Diego or Miami or whatever, and I want to have a Himalayan salt room inside of the building. I want a gym. I want this. I want that.
4
if
parking
they know
spots.
exactly, it's easy to find.
Yeah, you narrow the focus.
Yep.
And then you attract.
People
within
think
it.
they miss out if they don't. If they exclude others and they don't narrow down. But that's actually the exact opposite.
At what point did you learn that?
Well, unfortunately, this was one of the things that I had to do by trial and error. I, however, tested it within the number range of 100. in terms of attributes. So for like designing the love of my life, I was designing within 100 attributes. Designing a client, I was designing within 25 attributes. So it depends on what you're designing. You need to have different numbers.
Right.
But not only do you need to have different numbers, think of designing your ideal client as like putting a film, like a roll of film on the old projector, like in the theater.
Yeah.
You can replace the film all we want, right, by changing the design of our ideal client. But if the projector has blockage between the light and the film, which are like limitations, negative emotions, and all that stuff, the light's going to be underpowered.
Right. It's going to be smudgy, blurry.
That was the other key learning. I changed my design, and then I had to reprogram my mind and get rid of a bunch of stuff and install higher power lenses.
So you went through a lot of trainings to figure that crap out.
Yeah.
I don't say crap, but like seriously,
Yeah.
you went to a lot of trainings. So you talk about your training budget.
I spent millions.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it wasn't like all at once, but
No.
it was
But over time. And each course stacked on top of the next, which allowed you to create a whole different format by learning from different masters.
Right here, yes. I'm glad you brought this up. So many people are like, why would you spend that much money over this much time going to trainings? And then every time they ask me that question, I'm like, you really don't. Like, I'm not saying you, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the person, I'm like, you really don't understand that if there's one thing in this world that I would invest all my money into, it would be to understand, and I would say the listeners and viewers need to listen carefully right here. It would be to understand the relationship between my mind and our reality, and how to manipulate this relationship, and how to manipulate it to the point where I can take what's in my mind and transfer it into the reality that we call reality without reduction in potency.
How do you do that?
That is literally why we exist as Upgrade.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And it's,
And that's what you're going through in the training.
yeah, no, it's what I've been going through. And it's, I think one of the things that struck me early on is you had a message that was clearly consistent and congruent, and everything that you're talking about connects. It's circular motion, but it connects back. Each thing is a support structure for the next thing, right? Like if you don't have a reason to have a lot of money, you may actually get a lot of money, but when you get that money, you don't have a reason to keep it, right?
Like the lottery winners.
Like I love that show. Like how many people build, the lottery winners, where are they within 36 months, right? Baseball players, athletes, Instagram, stars,
Celebrities.
influencers.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, Willie Nelson, right? Like you think about it, some of the greatest, most successful people in their space didn't have the believing of, one, their success, two, their money, three, their mindset. And it's sort of like you have to keep investing in that space and narrowing that focus and getting clear on what you want. Because there are things like when I sold the boat, I realized the boat that I bought, 42 feet, Viking, beautiful boat, Express, beautiful boat, baby blue hull, Bahama blue, had all the pixels, had everything that I wanted on the boat. But the experience of the boat, which was something that you taught me about, I had a lot of different feedback. It was loud. When we went into a place, we weren't hanging out with the owners of the boats. We were hanging out with the crew. Right? We were in different places, leading a parallel
You got it
life.
for fishing, right?
Yeah, I got it for fishing and cruising. Went up and down the coast, Block Island to Palm Beach and back and through the Carolinas and all over the place, right? But I wasn't enjoying the experience because of all the feedback that I was getting along the way, which has said, I don't like that. It wasn't the boat. It was the experience, because I didn't design
Did it have a Seakeeper, the stabilizers?
Did not have a Seakeeper. It was a
Oh.
2012, so it was
Got it.
it was they were starting to put those in afterwards.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was 42 feet. It was highly stable.
Mm.
Some really interesting things, but the enjoyment of receiving that and earning it and achieving it, once I got it, I repelled it.
Oh.
And I found everything that was wrong. Well, this went wrong and this was expensive. It's a boat. Break out another 1,000 is what a boat stands for, BOAT, right? It's like a hole in which you throw money into. Those are all reality. Those are true reality, but there's an enjoyment of that expense. Like, it does not have an opportunity cost, right? If you're enjoying it the right way, even though the boat is a depreciating asset in most cases, I ended up selling the boat for more than I paid for it because it was COVID and things were good, right?
Yeah.
But what I realized, what I learned a couple months after starting into the training is I got rid of it. I didn't fully design why I wanted. I didn't fully explain the experience. I didn't have willing partners. I didn't have the right crew. I didn't have the right structure in the boat, so I lost enjoyment of it. I have all these wonderful shirts, like, from the boat. I don't even wear them. One they don't fit anymore because they're all XLs. But but it's you learn, the relationship of enjoyment and that deserving side of it. That's what I learned. And I see this in so many different aspects of wealth management. People have phenomenal success, and then they hoard things. And then when they hoard things, they stop growing, and they get restrictive, and they lose it. Like, in economics, you have this concept, the velocity of money and the money multiplier effect, right? When we have a healthy economy, money's in motion. Money flows from you to me to Brady to all these different people, and the economy's healthy. When people start hoarding their money and sticking it and not spending it, you get restriction. All right? And in a financial plan, it has velocity in it also. And when money's not in motion and doing different things, you lose benefits, you lose tax benefits, you lose control of the money, and then you lose your money, or you lose the possibility of that money. You may be very comfortable and you may have $20 million and you're under living and under enjoying it, and it goes to 40. But did you have the enjoyment of it? And because money is the name of the podcast, right? And when you hear that, everybody thinks something differently. What do you think of when you hear
What do I think of money?
Money isn't the term. What does it like fire off in your brain?
It's an empty space. Because to me, it's everything. Not in like all important everything.
Right.
Not in like, oh, if people hear it without thinking it deeper, they're like, oh, William said money's everything. But money is energy. It's an alchemical energy.
Yeah.
Whatever we have in our mind, it magnifies and it brings into the physical. So it is everything in a sense that it's everything that is also non-physical and physical. It's one of the few agents that can take something from the non-physical world into the physical world. So in my opinion, money is magic.
Yeah.
And why would anyone not want magic, right? And so if they say money isn't, like for example, people say money isn't happiness, well, that's a state.
It's a state. It's programming. It's bad. It's beliefs.
Yeah. I mean, like, money isn't happiness. Well, if I remove that money from them and they don't have money for rent, they're definitely not happy.
My dad used to say, money isn't everything, but without it, you can't get a date. It's pretty funny. So true, though.
Yeah.
Who wants to date a person without any money?
Yeah, I would say even pushing it so much further, like in this polarized social media environment, money is everything. If we say it that way, it certainly will provoke people, but it's actually the truth because it is one of the very few agents that literally can go from non-physical to physical.
Just dig a little deeper there for a second. When you say non-physical to physical, like just chunk down.
Okay, let's say you and I want to buy a car, yeah? We can go online now and we can look at a car that we want, and we can literally click a button, and then it can literally ship to us.
Correct.
But if we look at the scenario, of course we can justify it logistically, like, yeah, of course, modern economy. But if you take this scenario back to the 1800s, it would be pure magic.
Pure magic.
We look at a stone tablet that has light, and we move our fingers a little bit. We have a desire. It's like we cast a spell, and then all of a sudden there's money transfer that's imaginary.
Yep.
And then this physical, well-engineered car
Shows up.
shows up.
Yeah.
If that's not magic, I don't know what is.
That's a really interesting perspective. I don't think I've ever captured that from you, or the way you just did that. That's really, because it is the catalyst. It is the magic that creates everything in your life. I mean, like all the dreams that people have that they want to do. Like, I was talking to Michael recently, and we were talking about the baby coming. And I said to him, I said, I can't describe to you what it's going to feel like to hold that child for the first time, and to push all those dreams and desires into, like, what do you want for that child? You cannot describe it until you actually have the child. You can read about it, you can think about it, you can go to, pre-training classes, and then here's that baby. And it's like, what do you want for that baby? But over time, like, life starts to compartmentalize, and it's people start to bring their programming. So all those dreams and goals somehow shift for a lot of people.
Depends on their training, for sure.
Depends on their training.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing, is that training doesn't come naturally to most people. And it's rejected, as we were talking about, the stupid people, right? Because of closed minds. And they're going to run a program a plan that somebody else gave them, because they're following the masses, and they get to an arbitrary age of 66 or 7, and I have to retire because all my friends are. Warren Buffett's 90-something years old. Charlie Munger was 98 or 99, right? And they just got rid of everything that they hated doing and did more of what they loved doing.
There are certainly people that are living even far beyond that, but, we don't know where they are and stuff.
Yeah.
They don't want people to know they are. And, longevity is a game of the mind, just as much as it is a game of biological success.
Yeah. I mean, longevity's here. People talk about, Ray Kurzweil. I don't know if he's still head of artificial intelligence at Google, but he was talking about, I attended a conference probably 10 years ago, or maybe I listened to him on a speech online. I forget what it was, because it's so ingrained in my brain. But when you look at his track record of what he predicted, he was usually, he was late.
Pretty spot on.
Yeah, he's pretty spot, but the years, he was late. And he said, if you can freeze your body at the current level that it is at, in 5 to 10 years, 15 years, we're going to be introducing, in essence, nanobots that will freeze your age for another 35, 40 years. But you're going to have a lot of money. It's...
I think we'll be able to do more with
we will.
AI. And also, I was actually just at a conference where they're speaking about these guys are developing quantum computers for AI. And that'll take AI, that's like the next level of AI. That'll take it to astronomically more advanced levels of AI.
I mean, I just coming over on the plane was just doing, make me a dossier on William. Got a whole set of stuff. Okay, great.
It's very useful.
An easy background and a nice little package. And what are the capabilities? Like, this is what I wanted to delve into today. Not AI, right? But the true intelligence of a human being, and unlocking it and getting people to their potential. That's what you guys are the masters at. All right? So going back in your journey as you're doing all this training, when did you realize that this is something that, oh my God, this is what I want to do?
What is this specifically?
Upgrading humanity. Helping people unlock this, your courses, your trainings. Like what was the catalyst that said, I'm no longer going to be like an online entrepreneur type thing. I'm going to be a trainer.
It was curiosity. And to be honest, I don't know if I'm going to be training that much longer. By the time I hit 10 years, this will be fully a software company, maybe with some services attached to it. And I also have a biotech company that I'm building right now. So really, I'm going to be dedicating my time to a specific group of the demographics to help them. But I will be leveraging technology greatly because I don't believe in doing teaching trainings all my life. It's fun and all, but I did it for 3 reasons. Curiosity.
Okay, important.
Right? I want to know how far I can take it. And I knew that if I wasn't going to work with other people and I just sat in my own room and theorized how humans work, that's not going to work. It requires constant feedback, and the more, the better. And I needed to put myself in situations where it really would give me high pressure, battle tested results. So curiosity driven by curiosity, but then it's about testing, researching.
Getting
So I
as
can,
much feedback from as many different types of people
exactly.
as you possibly can.
Second reason is an improvement of skills. Because if I improve my skills, I can pass it on to other people. But I wasn't just interested in skills in applying it. I was interested in the skills in teaching it. Because skills in teaching something allows you to be able to extract key components and structures and be able to configure it based on the needs of the recipients. So if I can construct something based on the needs of an individual, I can break down the decision trees, the structures, the components, and teach it to like an AI.
Right.
So, because a lot of very successful trainers, teachers, educators, gurus, you name it, masters, their knowledge go with them 6 feet under. When they are maybe 80, 90, or however many years old or older,
It's gone, wasted.
it's gone. And they couldn't pass it on even when they were great teachers. Many of them deliberately hide them.
And I was thinking about this the other day, like in financial services, people come into the business and they spend the first 5-10 years just getting destroyed, like no. And they don't simulate, they don't have proper training. They have terrible training. And I was like, if you could create an environment where you artificially insert somebody into a reality of communication and actually teach people through AI, and that AI adapts beautifully to you and teaches you how to be the best version of yourself. Like, what is the possibilities beyond that?
Yeah, there's no end to how far you can take it. In fact, we're actually going to be working on a project for the educational system right now that will be licensing some of our stuff.
Interesting.
To help kids study better, perform better at school, but also decrease their desire for conflict and distraction.
That'd be really interesting. We just did a charity golf outing for a charity called Aslan Youth Ministries based in New Jersey. They help children. They do after-school tutoring and mentoring to help kids not get stuck in places.
This would be in the school.
Yeah.
What I'm doing is going to be in the school.
Yeah.
As long as they say yes, right?
Correct.
It'll be inside of their school curriculum, and we'll show them with scientific results that we can actually help them decrease the desire for conflict, which will make kids safer, teachers safer at school, but also help them stay calm, help them feel good, and help them excel in school. So there's a lot of things to increase the general performance of the students here in this country. And right now, from the food to the environment, to the educational material, to the system in which they're inside of, we're not making the most incredible leaders of the future. In fact, we're putting them in a disadvantage compared to some other countries. So they literally have to rise out of a toxic environment to become great. Instead, I want to level the playing field and make it already a great environment. So when they do become future leaders of the United States or other countries, they can truly make humanity better.
Because they haven't learned the conflict first. They've
Yeah.
learned. They've learned.
There are so many things they could be learning and improving upon. Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff in the educational world.
So this is going to take a lot of different people and a lot of different technologies.
Depends on what you mean by a lot.
Well, the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mean like hundreds. I mean the right people.
Yep.
To gather around this and understand, and then how do you apply it? And then if you're going after the school systems, there's a whole
We have the right people.
Winding of
We
thinking.
have just the right people
Yeah.
who not only believe, but they know, because we've worked with them and they saw the results, and they're ready to help us, right? And there are many paths towards one single goal if you just zoom far enough out.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what you need to do to generate a specific outcome 30 to 50 years from now.
What do you think the single best way to do that is for somebody? Let's just go backwards. Let's make this a little bit like down to somebody sitting here, they're listening to this and they're like, okay, I want this. And there's many paths to get that. How do you train somebody to say, okay, doesn't really matter the path, but it does. There are easier paths with less
I got you.
win and win bigger as opposed to, hard struggle.
You know how people, when they get sick, like maybe they had a flu or a cold or food poisoning, like which is terrible, right?
Yep.
Let's say someone's really sick and they're in the middle of it. They can't envision life when they're enjoying food again,
Right.
right? They can't envision life where they're going to the gym, hitting it hard, and swimming at the pool, having a summer party. They can't. They're just thinking, I survive.
I just have to survive.
Yep. Most humans don't know that they're literally in survival mode. Most humans don't know that their mind can actually do so much more, but because of their programming, they've been taught just to survive. So they eliminate the possibilities of them becoming truly magnificent. What that really means is being able to tap into even just a few more % of their brain, of their mind. People don't use that much of their mind. So if I were to suggest to people how they can actually zoom out and see the long term, they need to understand that their mind might have too many problems. That is very metaphorically like when they're sick. They can't see beyond the veil. They need to suspend their disbelief for a moment, their doubt, their lack of confidence, their lack of self-worth, and just step outside of that thick fog and imagine really eating great food again, like when that person has, problem, or being able to go to that summer party. They need to actually imagine, oh, I could do more with my mind. Anything is possible. I have a quantum supercomputer here, yet all I'm doing is what I've been doing.
Yeah. Changing a few codes of program.
Yeah, there's definitely, it's like you said earlier, right? Is it a lot of people or is it the right people? It's about changing the right codes. We don't have to change all the codes, but sometimes some people need more work than others, but definitely we target specific things that's going on in people's minds and help them remove or reinstall or reprogram.
That correlates beautifully into some of the wealth management tactics that we run on an ongoing basis. Like, people have this projection into the future, right? And you change one variable, that projection begins to change, right? You change two variables, tax rates, right? I can't make 7, I make 4, right? Taxes go from 20 to 30. That has a completely different outcome on what's going on. And I don't, the seeing is like, if you see this, if you see the one thing that is in the brain that's, stopping you from investing in yourself, stopping you from becoming the best person, or that's the one thing, like, people come in and they're like, oh, I have some money to invest. And we're like, well, where'd you get the money? Where did it come from? What do you want to achieve? And they're like, I just want to invest money. I'm like, for what? Like, what are we investing this for? It's a completely different strategy. Like, do you want a big picture strategy? And people are like, I just want to make a good rate of return. I'm like, why? Well, because I want to grow it. Well, yes, we all want to grow money, but with that comes traps and comes things that I'm not going to see. There's market volatility, there's taxes, there's inflation. And it's like, when you start to see that the outcome of your financial plan is not one or two variables or three variables, it's hundreds of different variables. And, what's over in the expense side and the tax side, if I spend more time over here recapturing money and I bring it over to the saving side or the investing side, that is an exponential jump in what it is. And I believe that's what you're doing in the way you're approaching the connecting of, what is the thing in your brain that is stopping you from being the best version of yourself.
I love what you're saying here. Exactly. Because first off, so in the simplest of ways, people are so attached to what they don't want. So there's a baseline, right? And so if they just go far enough away from what they don't want, most people are happy.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's no predicting when they need motivation and they will dip back down. That's why millionaires, even billionaires, will lose it all just to gain the motivation or understand and learn the lesson, right?
Which is one of the programs that I had run. I had to go backwards to go forwards constantly.
Now, that actually causes, if you look at the macro, humanity does that.
Yeah.
We go to war. We have all kinds of conflicts.
Destroy beautiful cities.
Yeah.
You got to rebuild.
And look at what happened in the last few years. Like, there were things that happened that humans would take ourselves backwards just for some secondary gain.
That's a key point, secondary gains.
Now, what we need to do is we need to have some toward motivation, toward pleasure that is so much greater than this, and then we can gradually remove the away from motivation. But here's the thing. What we have learned over the years is if you just remove all the away from motivation, people have no motivation. If you remove all the pain, they have no motivation.
They have no motivation.
So you need to build in pleasure first, gradually increase pleasure, gradually decrease pain, gradually increase pleasure, gradually decrease pain. And it needs to be a beautifully orchestrated plan, which most people will need a coach. Most people will need some sort of a structured curriculum, a training, an immersive training. And all of these tools and support structure, they need an environment to create this change. And like in investing, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people are thinking quarterly or maybe this year. They're like, how much should I get annually, right?
Yeah.
But what they're not thinking is the countries, the economies that are growing the fastest and keeps growing or has the most growth over the decades tend to be the ones that are not planning quarterly or annually. They're planning decades or hundreds of years in advance.
Yeah. And all these companies that cut their long-term budgets recently because they needed to make quarterly numbers to keep their stock up, and now they laid off a ton of people, and now they got to go back into it because now they've got good cash and they got to deploy the long-term strategies or they're going to have significant problems later. And that's like the 90-year vision in a wealth plan. Like, I will say to clients, I've been building plans to 100 plus for 30 years. And people are like, well, the average age is 76 to 80. My dad died at 79. That was a real shocker to me, right? But stuff happens, but you still got to orchestrate.
Yeah, stuff doesn't have to happen if we plan long term.
Right. And if you're focused on long term and you're taking actions towards those long term things and you're doing the right things, calamity of errors is a calamity of errors.
Have you ever been in a car where the driver is just looking 10 feet in front of them, but not 100 feet, not 50 feet? And they're like, oh, and they're constantly jerky.
Driving with 2 feet. I've seen that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh, there's a car right there. I was just in Miami and there were a couple of Uber drivers. And I'm like, look at the road. I'm like, they're looking right in front of them. Maybe for 10 feet, I could read their eyes. They're not looking far enough. And I'm like, there's a car right there stopped. And they get to really close and they slam. And I'm like, that's a very short-term vision, much like in investing, much like in mindset development, much like in a lot of things. Humans are so interested in what's in, and the short-sightedness that develops in the eyes, oftentimes at a young age, I'm not going to say, right, that this is correlated or the cause, but if I were to look at that symbolically, how many people are short-sighted in this world.
A lot. Yeah, I mean, and everybody then like, oh, I wish I did blah, blah, blah. And you're like, you had to have a vision. You had to have a focus on long term. Otherwise, you don't have a reason to be there.
They'll never be free if they are short-term thinkers.
Yeah.
Freedom is not given to those who can't think long enough because they will always be influenced by the external world. They have to react. That's not freedom. True freedom is planning ahead. You understand the chess game 10 games ahead.
Yeah. This was amazing. What do you want the listener to do?
I mean, so many things. Depends on what your listener is ready for.
Right.
Because once they get in, there's no going back.
True.
So if they want in, they can check us out. They can go to
UPGRD.com.
Yep.
And
That's it.
Do the
They will be able to do the 21-day challenge like the one you did. It's one of our older challenges. I'm about to change it to a 5-day challenge. I'm recording some new content this summer.
Cool.
So depending on when they hear this episode, they can jump in. And the 5-day one will be very, very efficient. And it will be a game changer in just 5 days.
Because as you learn, you get better and better and you keep sharing.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing today. This was
an honor.
Truly amazing.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it.
That's because you're amazing.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
Yes.
This is cool.
Thanks for
you.
having me.